And it's something that I think is important for me to answer about, because I think there's one thing in this book that I don't want to say I regret. I mean, in life I regret everything, right? So let's begin with that. I regret everything. But if I have, one point that I think was very difficult for me to express was the position exactly of what you were speaking about, of the quote-unquote revisionist movement, right? Because it's very easy to say that these quote-unquote revisionist Zionists, Jabotinsky being, let's say, the figurehead of it, it's very easy to say that they were violent, that they were terrorist, that they were unable and unwilling to compromise, and that their tactics actually were hurtful to the attempt to establish a Jewish state. That is a very, I think, basic and common criticism of the revisionist movement that was really put out there by labor Zionism, the early founders of the state, right? And yes, in a way, Bibi Netanyahu is a direct descendant from his father, who was a secretary to Jabotinsky, right? Of these revisionist ideals, which said, we're not going to negotiate with the British, we're not going to wait for the world to give us a country, we're going to take it, right? And I want to say that by studying it, and by thinking about what we call the revisionists, I have developed a very complicated sympathy for them. Because the revisionists really believed that the state of Israel was created at the cost of 6 million dead people. And it was Jabotinsky's idea, not just that we needed to get the state of Israel, take it, but that it needed to be a homeland for the Jews of Europe that needed a place to go. And because they couldn't save the Jews of Europe, and 6 million of the Jews of Europe died, it was the revisionists who felt that they had blood on their hands. And it was the revisionists who blamed the early founders of the state, people like Ben-Gurion, people like Weizmann, who blamed them for essentially getting a country by sacrificing their people, by not demanding that this becomes a home for immigration. And it's when you understand that people like Bibi's father, Benzion Netanyahu, are living with this guilt, living with this absolute feeling of having failed, then you begin understanding the intensity of their politics. And this is why, even when you watch Bibi Netanyahu now, and for some reason, he can sound crazy when he talks about the existential threat of Iran, right? Now, anyone who has a nuclear state doesn't speak about existence of the state, right? I mean, in a way, it's like, why are you still afraid of the existence? And it's truly because Netanyahu, he sounds most like his father when he speaks like that, because he truly imbibed from a very young age this true idea of existence and survival being paramount, which is embedded deeply within the revisionist ideology, which is informed entirely by a feeling of having failed Jewish Europe. And that is something that I wanted to color the character with a little bit, but it's very hard to kind